What is going on? This is Uncle Jack 328. Follow me on Twitter at Uncle Jack 328. This is the Behind the Scene podcast debut segment, Sober Thoughts. Normally, myself as well as the co-host Dion Donovan, we enjoy a few drinks. Normally, it's hashtag Blame the Liquor. This will be a new segment, sort of a soapbox slash editorial segment for the YouTube channel. Please hit that like button, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, just to kind of keep things going whenever we're out of the normal recording rotation cycle. For this first pilot edition of Sober Thoughts, we're going to talk a little bit of hip hop in 2021. Myself and Donovan, we are huge hip hop fans. At this point in time, it's safe to say the dominant music throughout all of music culture and entertainment has to be hip hop. The origins of which began in 1978, but this is not a history lesson. So let's get right into this. The year 2021, in my personal opinion, has to be defined by one album, King's Disease 2 by Nas. On a recent episode, Dion and myself kind of got into it and discussed some things. In my opinion, there has not been a better hip hop album released in the year 2021 that I could say decisively has been better as a listener, objectively, from a standpoint of lyrics, production, songs, everything that you want in a great hip hop album was right there, delivered by arguably the best MC in the history of this genre of music. I cannot say enough great things about King's Disease 2, but in this segment, I'm going to make that attempt. For years, in my opinion, I feel that Nas, Nasir Jones, Esco, Nasty Nas, whatever nickname, whatever alias you want to use to describe him, is no worse than the third best rapper who has ever lived, in my personal opinion. Eminem might have sold more records. Jay-Z might have a bigger profile. Obviously, Tupac might be the most impactful hip hop artist. Biggie Smalls might be one of the most stylish or influential, or maybe even pound for pound, lyrically, the best rapper who ever lived. But I think that Nas is that guy that holds everything together. If you were to make a perfect MC, an image of everything that represents hip hop as a genre of music, as a culture, separate from the music, the guy that it would look like would end up being Nas. Going all the way back from Illmatic, It Was Written, two of the greatest albums ever released. Arguably the greatest debut album from a solo artist, and arguably the greatest follow-up sophomore album from any artist. Obviously, we know that in between we had the albums like I Am, we had Nostradamus, we had that lull period where the quality of the music might not have matched up to some of the contemporaries. We had that shift in the mid 90s to the 2000s, the entire culture of hip hop changing from the shiny suit era to the mass consumption era to the crossover into the mainstream brought on by artists like P. Diddy, brought on by artists like Snoop Dogg and Eminem, 50 Cent, DMX, Wu Tang. All of these artists that I'm mentioning had their time, but at no time throughout all of these artists having their run can anyone say that Nas was not right there in the mix of it. There's no period throughout the entire history of hip hop music being relevant and consumed on a national scale where someone can decisively point out and say Nas was not a factor. If we're using the sports equivalent here, we'll say that Nas is that star player on the baseball team that continues to average a 300 batting average or a 280 batting average, 4 or 5 MVP trophies, a World Series MVP, multiple All-Star games. For a sports analogy, in my opinion, Nas is the Hank Aaron of hip hop. There's no one, in my opinion, that has been more consistent with producing quality music at a high level on a consistent basis for almost 30 plus years. Obviously, I didn't enjoy the Nasir album, the 7 track album produced by Kanye West. I did not enjoy that album at all. Street's Disciple was a good album that probably should have never been a double disc. I Am and Nostradamus, for example, you could maybe make the argument that maybe that should have been a double album, or maybe the best of both albums should have just been one album. Godson is easily a 4 mic album. Stillmatic is a 5 mic album. And already mentioned, it was written in Illmatic. I defy anyone to point out any artist on top of everything that I said that navigated through this entertainment industry, the music industry, and did it on their own terms the way that Nas did it. Jay-Z is a superstar. Jay-Z is a all-time great lyricist, all-time great artist, and someone who has transcended hip-hop in a way to where anyone who is familiar with music knows who Jay-Z is. Eminem transcended hip-hop in a lot of similar ways as far as record sales, touring, profile, even with the movie 8 Mile. 50 Cent has transcended hip hop in a way to where we could probably never hear him rap again. The only time you might hear 50 Cent rap is if you watch Power, in terms of him being a figure in Hollywood and television and everything like that. Snoop Dogg might be the most well marketed rapper outside of music that we've ever had in terms of exposure in mainstream advertising. P. Diddy, Dr. Dre, all-time great producers and men who are behind the music. But as a artist, standing in front of a microphone or in a studio or in a booth, providing us with music that we can consume and get us through our everyday lives, Nasir Jones has to be the man that stands on top of everyone in terms of that right there. I can argue down with anybody. I'm open for any debate on hip hop music, but that's my hill to die on right there. If we're talking about artists that define a genre and stick to a level of consistency. The production, the beat picking, all of these things are definitely valid criticisms that you can have towards his overall career and the quality of music. My counter argument to all of that is to say this right here. If Nas was able to work with the producers such as a Timberland, such as Neptune, such as a Kanye West, such as a Just Blaze or a Scott Storch, or obviously he worked with the Trackmasters back in the 90s. If we were able to hear Nas over the same caliber of production as, let's say, a Jay-Z, I'd be willing to argue that the quality of the music would even be greater than what it was that we got. I would consider that to be a great what if throughout the history of hip hop. The fact that he has been able to produce this level of music without the industry machine behind him, without the caliber of these A-list producers behind him, enhances the legacy more than I feel as though it takes away from it, in my personal opinion. The one Grammy Award that he won for the year of 2020, whether or not I feel as though King's Disease was objectively a better album than Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist, or The Allegory by Royce da 5'9", I can't say that it bothered me seeing him win that Grammy for Best Rap Album, because King's Disease 1 was a great rap album. King's Disease 2 is an enhancement of that. And for that alone, I can't say that any album that has come out in the year 2021 was handled with the level of detail, the level of continuity, and the level of overall professionalism and craft for this genre of music than King's Disease 2. I know Kanye West put out an album that a lot of people enjoyed. I know that Drake put out an album that a lot of people enjoyed. I'm not sure on what the other nominees are. You know, J. Cole had the album of the year for all of about 2 weeks. No disrespect. But where we are at this intersection between authenticity and what is perceived to be authentic, an album like this has to be held in the highest regard because truthfully, I don't know how long we're going to be allowed to get this type of music. I don't know how many years we have in this culture of being able to mass consume and the general public, the consumer base of this genre of music, still having an appreciation for it. I don't know how much time we have for that. 5 years, 10 years from now, I don't know if an aging Kendrick Lamar, or an aging J. Cole, or an aging plug-in whoever, you know, is making this type of hip-hop music is going to be allowed the luxury to have an album released that gets the acclaim of a King's Disease 2. I don't know if that's possible. For those reasons alone, I think we should have even more appreciation for it. That's just my personal opinion. Like I said before, please like, share, and subscribe. This is the Behind the Scene podcast, Sober Thoughts Volume 1 Hip Hop Edition. This will be a main staple on this channel here. Shout out to all our subscribers. Shout out to the Facebook groups. Shout out to my co-host, Dion Donovan. We out of here. We'll see y'all on the next one.